Treasury yields remain high and the dollar continues to struggle as concerns about the fiscal outlook grow. Longer-dated Treasury yields are still elevated as worries grow that a US tax bill will increase the debt load by more than expected. The dollar has also been hit, trading lower against most of its major peers. Anna Macdonald is an investment manager at Aubrey Capital Management. Anna, are investors right to be worried about the rising levels of US public debt?
I think they are right to be concerned. The US fiscal deficit position is at 6.2% of GDP, and now that's a really big number. And Republicans and Democrats should be concerned about that, particularly as we are now in a situation where a new tax bill is being put through the committee stages, and it is forecast to increase the national debt by between $4 to $5 trillion by 2030. So I think investors are right to be concerned. The US Treasury market is the deepest and most liquid market in the world, so it's not going away anytime soon. But investors are demanding higher returns at the longer end of the curve.
Now, does the dollar's recent woes point to a loss of American exceptionalism, or is there more to it than just that?
I think that the dollar's weakness, which amounts to about 9% since it started to turn against a basket of most major currencies, is a sign that investors are looking to diversify their risk away from the US, that they're finding other investment opportunities, whether they want to do that in currency and buy the Swiss franc, which we've seen quite a lot of, or whether they're getting exposure to perhaps other markets. We've seen Europe, for example, starting to perform very well. So I think on the margin, the US dollar has seemed less attractive. It does still, however, remain really the currency that most commodities, for example, are priced in, and it is a key part of how we all do business.
Well, let's move on to some corporate news, and we've just had the biggest launch of an IPO of 2025, not out of New York or even London, but Hong Kong. CATL, the Chinese battery maker. What did you make of this IPO? I mean, shares did surge on debut.
Yeah, they're up about 16%, I think. And so this is CATL, or CATL, the world's largest maker of EV and battery storage, with about a 37% market share, according to articles I've read this morning. And they are raising money in Hong Kong. They're raising non-renminbi money, and they're going to use this to invest in plant overseas, predominantly a $7.3 billion factory in Hungary. So I think this is going to provide a boost perhaps to Chinese companies who want to explore financing this way. And I think that it's quite a nice boost for Hong Kong too. It as being the largest IPO that we've seen this year.
Now, we've had more reaction today from some big businesses in the UK to Monday's deal that was thrashed out between Britain and the EU. The Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, said that it shows his country is back on the world stage. What does that actually mean, and is he right?
Well, I think Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves are very keen to show that they've made progress by signing a deal with India, by signing a deal with the US, one of the first trade deals since Liberation Day, and then now this EU agreement. I think, though, that once you really look at the detail of it, I think business will probably be a little bit disappointed. There's still a lot of it that has not quite been confirmed about how we're actually going to get there. There's language like we will swiftly explore the access to the European Defence Fund, or that we will work towards a youth visa program and things like that. So there's still a lot to be worked out. There is some good news on agri-food, which should add about £9 billion to the economy by the end of the decade. But we are talking, when you parse that out, we're talking about maybe 0.1% improvement to GDP. So there's a lot still to work through. If they can make progress on accessing the EU's defence fund, which is when they'll raise funds on the capital markets and distribute it to countries, I think that would be very positive for some of our defence names. But yes, still a lot of things to work around. And Starmer has to tread really carefully, because Reform are at 29% in the polls out today from YouGov and The Times, and we've got Labour on 22%. Conservatives now in fourth place on 16%. Both Labour and Conservatives have to be very careful in how they talk about any kind of rapprochement with the EU that could be cast as some kind of walking back of Brexit, because I think that would be like a red rag to a bull to Farage and to all the right-wing press.
That was Anna Macdonald from Aubrey Capital Management. And don't forget, you can watch more videos on Reuters.com.